Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, January 27th, 2025. It is 4:45 p.m. We are at the Arvin Education Center for the monthly meeting of the Oldham County Board of Education. First item, sir, do you have any changes to the agenda?
I have just a few. Board members, first is B1 in the facility items in consent. I'd like to remove that from the agenda for the board to consider tonight, and that's revolving around the bid and award of contract for Buckner Oldham County High School project that's upcoming. We just need a look. We'll bring that back to the board to consider and take action on, but just not. We expect it to be ready tonight, and we're not. So I'd like to remove that from the agenda. And then the second item is I'd like to add to executive session when we go into executive session to discuss the discussion of legal services for the Board of Education. You have a copy of the engagement letter here for you to review, and then also that we would have possible action around that after discussion tonight.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Made by Mrs. Sheffer, seconded by Mrs. Clem. All those in favor? And that's 5-0. Mr. Webb, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? Before we start the instructional session, we're going to have a moment of silence for my friend and former board member Larry Dotson, who passed away on Friday. Larry served on our Board of Education for 18 years and worked at LG&E, as everyone who knew him knows, for 58 years. His service is this Thursday at Hetty Radcliffe in LaGrange. Visitation is from 10 to 12. There is a funeral service at noon, and then another visitation Thursday evening from 4 to 7. And in true Larry Dodson fashion, in lieu of flowers, he wants donations sent to the Art Center Foundation. Larry truly loved our school and all of the kids in our schools, and especially the Art Center. And at his last meeting in December, the Art Center put on a performance, and Larry got serenaded, and it could not have been a better last meeting for Larry to have been at. So just keep Patty and Jeremy in your thoughts and prayers, and their whole family. And we will definitely miss Larry very much. And I know the Art Center had their first performances over the weekend without him, and it was bittersweet for them as well. So right now we're going to have a moment of silence for Larry. Thank you, everyone. I would like to welcome Mr. Adam Springer, is our newest board member, and he's already been at a couple of our meetings, but this is the first big monthly meeting that he's been a part of. So, Adam, welcome, and
Thank you.
Have fun, jump in. Sir, instructional session.
Yeah, at this time I'd like to invite Dr. Smith to come forward and give an update to the board for our instructional session.
Welcome, Dr. Smith.
Hello. Good afternoon. All right. We are very fortunate to be in the middle of our second year using the iReady platform. So it's starting to give us data we can compare year over year as we look at students' performance against standards. We look at the median performance of students as they make their way over the course of the year in reading and math. This presentation is going to call out some highlights from our winter data. So this assessment was given at the end of December and then led up to winter break. We're using the data now to regroup students and to do interventions in all of our schools. And maybe we will do that, and maybe we will not do that. All right. There we go. All right, we're going to start with math. So one of the things that we focused on this year is iReady MyPath. This is the personalized instruction that's a feature of the iReady platform. It's something we didn't get when we were using NWEA MAP for the previous 10 years. Our goal is for students in reading and math to spend about 30 minutes a week doing personalized instruction. It's geared to where the student is in the arc of their learning, and you can see in terms of our grade levels, our students just about hit the 30-minute mark in math, and we'll see the reading data in just a moment. These are also, we work with students to complete a certain number of lessons, so it isn't just the number of minutes exclusively, but the number of lessons that they complete at their level. There are lots of incentives around this, and if you ask children in kindergarten through 8th grade, they can usually tell you how many, for like my own child, how many Husky Bucks she has earned as a result of completing her lessons. They're very passionate about this. We use a scatter plot system to look at grade level performance, and so what we're going to do first is look here at the performance of our grade levels in mathematics. So along the bottom you see our performance percentile, and then you see our growth across the top. Our goal, if you look at this previous line here, is to try and get as close to the top right quadrant as you can get. That is both high growth and high performance. If you're in quadrant number 2, you're below the national median for growth, but you're above it in performance. And you can see how it then breaks out for quadrants 3 and 4. So here you can see each of the grade levels, kindergarten through 8th grade, and their overall performance. The dotted line is the national median percentile. So you'll notice kind of the general quadrant where all of our grade levels fall. It's somewhere in the 60 to 70 percentile range. Here's a picture of where we were performing a year ago. So one thing you'll notice is that 1 year ago, we were somewhere in the 50 to 60 percentile range. And you can see that all of those dots have moved over one column in our overall performance. That's the kind of thing we're looking at for broad trends as a school district. We share this data with all of our building level principals when we're at our admin staff meeting, and then they take this down to the building level and unpack the data for their kids in their schools. So I'm giving you this as a big overview as the general trend for our mathematic performance from kindergarten through 8th grade. When we talk about the median progress, we're talking about the middle student. So this is the median would be if we lined up every child in a grade level, the child that's in the very middle, whatever that performance level is, that's what we're talking about, not the average. When we average everything, we lose some of the nuance of the data that we're looking at. So taking a look here, starting in the bottom row, you'll see the performance of students who are 3 or more grade levels behind their peer group. So that would be if you look over in the 6th or 7th grade column, let's take the 7th grade column, and they're 3 grade levels behind. The middle student had made 123% of the typical growth for this school year. That means they're making more than a year's growth at the halfway point of this year. They were 3 grade levels behind, they're accelerating. As you go up, you can see students who are 2 years behind, 1 year behind, early on grade level, or mid or above the grade level. And you can see the overall performance that they're showing us. Here's how we break out the data from fall to winter, from kindergarten through 5th grade. So you can see kindergartners came in at the beginning of the year. We had 19% of them that were at or above the grade level. 18 were ready to start at the grade level. The yellow would be, I'm beginning kindergarten, but I haven't yet learned these standards that you're testing me on. So the idea is that you wouldn't expect them to necessarily know those standards. And then as they're taught the standards, you can see that now we have grown the kids who are at or above to 42%, 19% are at the early on, and then 39% are what we're calling 1 grade level below. But by the end of the year, we're trying to get as many of them to green, which means they've learned the material for the year. Here's what the data looks like in middle school for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then here we've broken it out by the subgroups that we're tracking. So here we see by different students' races, looking at Asian, African American, 2 or more white, and then not reported. And for this, you can see our goal is to get to approximately 50% because you've learned half the material for the year. Our one subgroup that's fallen below that is the 43% mark for African American students. There are 85 of them across our schools. And so our principals, one of the things they're then unpacking is how are kids doing in the classrooms in my building for each of these different groups of students. Here, it breaks out English learners slightly differently. So English learners here are the ones that are with the column that says yes. And so you can see that the middle of the 260 English learners we have, the median student had made 53% typical growth this year. And then this last one is for special education. So these are students supported in special education. We have 1,047 in kindergarten to 8th grade, and we're at about the 50% mark for the typical growth they've made this year. Any questions on math before we move to reading? All right. So reading, we put a lot of energy into reading especially in our lower grades, and you can see that here our second grade group has hit the average of 34 minutes in the recommended range. Everyone's in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth is getting close to the 30-minute mark. It's dropping off in seventh and eighth. Here is the column that's showing the performance of our grade levels in reading. We're in the 60 to 70% range. And here it was 1 year ago, and we see a similar trend where most of the dots were in the 50 to 60 range, and now they're 60 to 70. They've moved one column over. All right, and then here is an interesting chart. And we've spent a lot of time in the teaching and learning team and also at our admin staff, especially for middle school, unpacking this chart. So we made a lot of really strong growth, especially for students that are 2 or 3 levels behind in terms of their ability to read. You can see that growth here. What stood out to us is what we saw at the very top, which is if I were a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, mid or above grade level, we see 3 zeros in terms of their median growth. So if I was already at or above 6th grade, and I was one of those 312 students, and I lined up all 312 of them, the middle student did not continue the trajectory of growth that we expect. It came back to us at 0% of growth on the same trajectory. Everyone else, we see lots and lots of growth, but for that group, what we've asked our middle school principals to do is to start unpacking those students, that specific group in their building, to understand what's going on in their English classrooms and what's producing those zeros. By the end of the year, we expect those numbers to return to the typical growth we would see for the school year, but this stood out to us both when we shared it with the admin staff team and then also as we've had grade levels unpack their data. Because 3 zeros in a row, we've not had that, we didn't have that at all last year, and so when it came to us this year, it was something that we're focusing on and really digging into. Here is the performance for kindergarten through 5th grade. You can see we've made really strong improvements in students' ability to read. We're rolling out our new reading curriculum, and we see some really strong performance here. In middle school, we also see growth, especially in across the 3 middle bands. Our goal also with our students that are 3 or more is we always want to see those numbers decreasing over the course of the year. All right, here's how it broke out by different ethnic groups. So you can see, in this case, in our reading data, we had everyone they were all well above the 50% mark. Here's English learners. They were at 59. The median student was at 59% of typical growth. And then here was student supported in special education. We're at 55. So we're very pleased to see the progress we've made in reading. We see math. We've done a lot of work with math over the last couple of years. And I'll just pause right there and see what questions that you have.
What's the expected percentage of growth? Does that just vary, or?
So we shoot at the middle point of the year. We shoot for 50%. That means you're on target. Mm-hmm. You're making the growth that we'd expect. We also track something we call stretch growth, which is where you're trying to make a year and a half's worth of growth in 1 year, especially for kids that are well behind. I have another set of charts that I can share with you that show the stretch growth specifically. For this, we're just trying to see how are we doing overall.
Sure.
Midpoint of the year, we've done a lot of work in the fall, so we're getting right up to winter break. This is a snapshot for us on this one day or couple of days of testing. And so for us, the next thing we're really going to follow is how are we doing in our intervention groups? And then when we get to April and we do our next administration, we want to see all those numbers close so that we've got projected.
Is there usually more growth from fall to winter versus winter to spring, or does that? I don't know that there's a typical, like we used to have a dip with MAP. Mm-hmm. We would get to the middle of the year and it would just kind of drop and then it would come back. So I can't say, since this is only the second time that we've done it using this platform, I can't say specifically that we would expect it to drop, but from what we've seen going on in our schools, we expect to have strong growth by the end of the year. Great.
That's really our goal.
Dylan, can you go to the reading K through 5 fall to winter?
Right here.
So, at this point in the year, the ultimate goal would be to have the green and the blue at 50. Or sorry, it's green and blue on our screen, the top two.
So the students that are at the so let's just look at kindergarten. If I started the year at the 13, that means I came in at or above kindergarten.
Right.
Okay. Now at the midpoint of the year, 40% of the kids are there. Our goal, and it depends on where you're starting from, is to get as many kids to 50 plus as we can, which is what you saw on this one.
Because you want them out of the one grade below. You want them out of the yellow, you
Yes.
want them in the blue and green.
Yeah, like if we're looking at these
Green and
tiles,
green there.
depending on where you're following, we want you well above the 50% mark here to show that you're on the trajectory to get a year's worth of growth this year.
Okay,
And that's why when we're looking at those 6, 7, and 8 numbers, 0 kind of surprises us but these are students who are already beginning. I already know how to read. I might be GT or something else, and it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't continue on the trajectory. I don't think that those students necessarily slid. I think that we really just need to understand what's going on with this. How did it get? 0 is a very interesting number for 312 kids. The kid in the middle didn't grow at all. I think that for us was a kind of a flashing light, like what's really going on here? Are we taking the test seriously? Is the test measuring the right stuff? Are the teachers emphasizing it in the way we expect them to? All that kind of, we will ask students what happened here and kind of get their feedback too.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Board members, any other questions? Thank you,
good.
sir.
Very good, thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Alexander to come forward and give a treasurer's report.
Good evening. I'm going to be doing the treasurer's report for December. And if you look at the treasurer report, it means that we're halfway through fiscal year 25 school year, which is amazing to me because it feels like we just started this. I'll start off again with report number 1 on your treasurer's report. It gives you a summary of our receipts and disbursements. You can also see the ending balance of our governmental funds of just over $73 million. Then if you look at the school activity, the food service fund and daycare funds, that's a total of a little over $82.6 million. Following that, you have the remaining amounts listed for our bonded construction fund. That's about 2.6. And then underneath that is our investment account, which is a little over 16 million. Then if you go behind that and look at report number 2, it just gives a little more detailed breakdown of the cash balances that we just discussed. I will highlight a particular, beyond the general fund, of course, which contains the bulk of our funds, is the building fund, because we made that full transfer of the nickel from the taxes, which we had really strong tax receipts already, so that's why we went ahead and moved that large balance on over into the building fund, which is at like 24.9 million. And the only other thing that's left that we still need to receipt into the building fund account is the remainder of the equalization from the state that we will get in the spring. You can go on to report number 3, our historical analysis report that compares all the previous years to the current year. Both our revenues and expenditures, you can see we're tracking really good. The way we'd like to see it, we're ahead in revenues and behind in expenditures. The report does show a total of $71.3 million for our general fund revenue. If you look at the middle of the page, it shows that we've received 85.5% already for our general property tax revenue, and that's very strong, and it's right on track. With our other taxes, in particular the motor vehicle and utilities, and of course the SEEK, and it's on its normal collection schedule. So behind the report number 3, you have the general fund revenue trend report from our Munis spreadsheet and our traditional income statement and balance sheet for your review. I'm presenting this report to you for your information, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions? No. Your recommendation, sir?
I recommend to approve as presented.
Can I get a recommendation to approve the treasurer's report made by Mrs. Clem, seconded by Mrs. Sheffer? All those in favor? And that's 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting minutes. We've got 3 sets of meeting minutes. The first is December 16th, 2024, board meeting minutes. Board members, do you have any changes to those? Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Mrs. Clem, seconded by Mrs. Sheffer. All those in favor? And that's 5-0. We also have a January 13th, 2025 special called work session minutes. Any changes to those minutes? Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Mrs. Sheffer, seconded by Mrs. Clem. All those in favor? And that's 5-0. And finally, we have January 16th, 2025. That was our middle school SBDM and the Art Center meeting. Any changes to those? Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Mrs. Clem, seconded by Mrs. Sheffer. All those in favor? And that's 5-0. Thank you all. Next, sir.
Yes, sir, personnel actions, and that is in your board packet, and just my recommendations is for the board to review, take under advisement. No action required.
Okay.
Next are our consent items. My recommendation would be to approve as presented.
Board members, do you have any questions about consent items? Can I have a motion to approve? Made by Mr. Dennis, seconded by Mrs. Clem. All those in favor, and that's 5-0.
Okay. Next up are our superintendent reports. And so first is our FY24 independent audit and annual financial report. And Ms. Alexander may be participating, as well as our independent auditor from LBMC. I do apologize, I did not greet you before we started the meeting, so welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. I am Gina Jones. I'm one of the shareholders with LBMC. I was here last year, but we were technically Strothman and Company, and we merged with LBMC in November of last year. So you have two items in front of you. The bound is the FY24 audit report, and then there's a 3-page letter as well, and I'll go over that in just a second. So in front of you, the first few pages are the table of contents. On page 1, this is the independent auditor's report. In the second paragraph, it just talks about our opinion on the financial statements, and this is an unmodified or clean opinion, the highest level that an organization can receive. Our independent auditor's report also talks about what management's responsibilities are for the financial statements, as well as what our responsibilities are for the financial statements. I'm not going to go into detail about that with you tonight. Starting on page 4 and going through page 13 is the management discussion and analysis, or the MD&A. And this is just management's analysis of what the district's performance was for 2024 compared to 2023. This is required by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, or GASB. And if there were any significant changes during the year for the district, this would also be disclosed in this. So this is probably the 10 or 11 pages that I would suggest you read, because it's more user-friendly and talks about everything that's happening with the district. Go just a few pages back, and starting on page 14, these are the district-wide financial statements. So GASB requires the financial statements to be converted to full accrual, which means all capital assets are accounted for here, as long as the long-term debt and compensated absences, and then also the pension and the OPEB liabilities. Just want to highlight just a few numbers here. Total assets were $343.6 million at the end of fiscal '24, and in 2023 that was $320 million. So that's up about $22 million, or 7.1%. And then down a little bit farther, you'll see the liabilities. The total liabilities were $213.8 million. And that is compared to $230 million in 2023. So that's actually down $16.9 million. And the majority of that is related to the pension and OPEB liability. They actually went down by $32 million. Most years we're coming up here and saying these liabilities are increasing every year, but they actually went down, and that's all based on the actuary studies that are performed. And then there was an increase in your bonds. You had a new bond issue of about $24 million in 2024. So then down at the bottom, you'll see total net position, or this would be the equity if this was a for-profit organization, and it's $118.4 million. So that's up about $13.8 million, or 13.4% in 2024. I'm going to skip a few pages and go to page 16, which these are the fund financial statements. And normally when you all are talking about the main operations of the district, you're looking at your general fund. So in the first column on page 15 is the general fund. The total assets were $39 million. And your total fund balance was right at $35 million. And most of that is sitting in unassigned or unrestricted. That's $34.9 million. And that's up about $10 million from the prior year. And then going just a couple more pages is the statement of revenues and expenditures, and we'll just look at the general fund. Total revenues were $132 million, and in the prior year it was $140 million, so down about $8 million. A lot of that is due to the reduction in the SEEK funding of about $3 million, and then some other state revenues were down about $9 million. But your property tax revenue is actually up a little over $3 million for the year. Your total expenditures were $132 million and $136 million in 2023, so that's down about $3.4 million. And then you'll see your fund balance for the general fund, third line from the bottom, $10.5 million, and it was $6.3 million in 2023. So that's up about $4 million. Starting on page 20 are the proprietary funds, so that's just the food service and the daycare activity. I'm not going to highlight any numbers there. And then starting on page 25 are all the footnote disclosures. And then on page 85, you'll see the school activity fund schedules. This is a combining schedule for all the activity funds. And the total amount of cash at the end of the year in the activity funds was right at $1.2 million. And it was about 1.1 in 2023. And then as part of our audit, we also audit the federal expenditures, so all the federal dollars that are received. So in 2024, the total federal dollars were $9.3 million, and that schedule starts on page 90 through 92 of this report. So all of our procedures, we select a major program to test, and as part of our audit, we look at all the federal dollars. Are they in compliance with all the uniform guidance? And I'm happy to report there were no findings related to any of those dollars. And as far as the financial main audit, we didn't have any findings either with that. We did have a few minor compliance findings with some of the school activity funds with the Red Book, but nothing of concern there. So that is my report. Does anybody have any questions on the audit report? If not, I will go over the letter that I have. Okay. So the letter you have in front of you is just a required communication with those charged with governance. It basically talks about if there were any issues that we had during the audit with management, we would have to communicate those with the board. We did not have any issues. If there were any audit findings, those would be communicated in this letter. And as I said previously, we didn't have any. If management went out and sought a second opinion from another auditor, they would have to communicate that to us, and then we would also communicate that to you as the board. And no other items to report. I'll be happy to address any questions at this time.
Board members, any questions?
All right.
I would just like, can you just repeat one more time that you audited our financial records and that you did not find any mismanagement of funds in that report?
That is correct.
Okay, just Thank you. A little louder for the people. in the
No findings to report
Thank
in the
you.
main audit or in the single audit of the federal dollars.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, Ms. Alexander is going to make her way back and share the draft budget with the board. So two things. One, we'll ask later, as the board knows, to ask you to approve what you heard in terms of the independent audit as an action item. And then the state asks every Board of Education to present and approve a draft budget that Ms. Alexander is going to do here in just a moment. So thank you.
Also, Carrie, thank you to you and your staff for, I know audits are no fun, sorry, but, well, I'm sure you know that. Yeah. And all of the bookkeepers in our schools as well, all of their hard work, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you. And I was going to say thank you to Gina and her team. It was really good working with them again. I also wanted to thank our team. I have a great group to work with. With closing the year and completing the audit, I could not have done it without all of them and all of their hard work, so I really, really appreciate that. And as she just discussed with the annual financial report, we gave you the unaudited one in July, which is required by state law and reported to KDE. Then we work through with the auditors, we post any adjustments, we do all the things. And so the AFR that we're presenting tonight, it does mirror the audit, all the ending balances and everything agree. Now we just have to roll the fiscal year, close that out. Again, we're working on fiscal year 25 for several months, and now we're starting to work on fiscal year 26. So with that being said, I know this sheet, you've kind of had some time to see this a few different times, but this is just the basis of our draft budget. We kept the ADA flat, even though our assessment growth last year was 8.43. With this budget, we, just with the draft, just starting, we put it at 5%, kept the tax rate flat. The transportation funding is supposed to be close to the 100% for fiscal year 26. It's actually not quite 100, it's kind of because it's going on last year's numbers. Our seat base gets to go up by $100, and the Tier 1 equalization goes to 17.5. So with all of that, I know you've seen this sheet with our local tax revenue minus our building fund, the utility tax, state tax, the net revenue available is like $4,593,027. And then we will work with you guys and figure out, you know, any plans that you have with different things so we can really get the budget laid out for our tentative that I'll bring back to you in May. Any questions?
Does this include federal grants?
No. No, the draft budget doesn't include any federal grants.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, any other questions?
Thanks, Carrie.
All right,
Thank you very much. All right, sir?
Next up, Ms. Will, are we ready for our showcase? Or we need to, still waiting a few? Okay. Okay. You'll move to, how would you like to proceed, Chair?
Action items?
Kim? Okay. So we'll move to action items. First, while we're trying to be mindful of our schedule and time, action items, the first is, as we mentioned earlier, ask the board FY24 independent audit report. And so my recommendation to the board is to approve that, as you've already heard this evening.
Awesome. Board members, any questions? Can I get a motion to approve, made by Mr. Dennis, seconded by Mrs. Clem? All those in favor? And that's 5-0.
And so the second item is the FY24 annual financial report that you heard Ms. Alexander just touch on, and my recommendation to the board is to approve as presented.
Okay, board members, any questions? Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Mrs. Clem, seconded by Mrs. Sheffer. All those in favor, and that's 5-0.
And the next action item is the FY26 board meeting schedule. And just a reminder for our board, every January we review the schedule, the regular meeting schedule, which also includes SPDM meeting schedule, and ask the board to approve. And that would be my recommendation. However, that can be discussed if the board would like.
I have a question.
Yes.
The SPDMs are on Thursday. Is there a reason for that? Is it for scheduling?
It was really just other than for consistency. So what I could say is if the board wanted to discuss that further, we certainly could do that. You all could have discussion tonight and change those dates.
Maybe one, if we could discuss it, just one.
That's
Sure.
what we did this year,
Okay,
right?
if we could, well, I think we did it on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Like, we didn't have them all on the same night, is
Did
what I
we?
mean.
I don't remember.
I think we moved them around.
Yeah.
Okay, if we can maybe talk about that one,
Okay.
just SBDM, I'm okay with the other ones.
So what I would, because it's all together, I would just recommend that the board consider, taking action or tabling that action, and then we could come back. That's not
Okay.
a
That'd
problem.
be great.
Well, do you want to go ahead and talk? Well, let's go ahead and talk so that we can figure it out.
Just
'cause
that
we've got a
Wednesday,
few minutes.
it's January 15th to Wednesday instead of Thursday, would be,
Okay,
just an opportunity to space it out a little bit.
so Wednesday,
January
January
14th.
14th, 2026.
Do
Yes.
you want to do Wednesday in October too, or, because
Uh,
practices are all
I'm,
going to be
I'm
on
not
Thursday?
super worried about that.
You're good with it?
I mean, if people like Wednesday, it's always better for me, but just that January one is the big one. What do y'all,
I'm good with whatever, but
Yeah.
if you want to move that October one, that's fine.
anybody else have a problem with that? It's also Luke's birthday.
No.
Wednesday, the 1st?
Wednesday,
be okay?
October 1st.
Okay. That would be kind of good, 2 Wednesdays, 2 Thursdays, it kind of evens it out.
Mhm.
Wednesday, October 1st, 2025.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so first, we have to
Vote
Put
on
it-
what-
vote on it as it's listed, and
And then
then
amend it.
I'll make a motion to change it. So,
Okay.
motion to approve it as it's listed, made by Mrs. Sheffer, seconded by Mr. Dennis. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. So I'm going to make a motion that the calendar as presented be accepted with the changes of Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, being changed to Wednesday, October 1st of 2025. The schedule stays the same. And then that Thursday, January 15th, 2026, get changed to Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. So I'd like to make the motion. Can I get a second? Made by Mrs. Sheffer. All those in favor? And that's 5-0.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, board. Next action item is election of board officers. And so as our board policy says, each January we will elect a chair and a vice chair. So I will, as given that, what I've just described, happy to answer any questions. I will take any nominations for chair first, and then help facilitate the board through that process. And then the next item would be election or nomination for vice chair.
Okay, I would like to nominate Carly Clem for board chair.
Okay,
I'll second it.
seconded by Ms. Sheffer. All right, any discussion about for board chair? Okay, everyone in favor? All right, anyone opposed? That carries 5-0. Ms. Clem, congratulations on being chair. So I'd like to then open up to any nominations for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Ms. Schaefer for vice chair.
Okay, Mr. Dennis, Ms. Sheffer. Do I have a second? Mr. Springer, okay. Any discussion? Okay. Everyone in favor for Ms. Sheffer as vice chair? All right. No opposed. That's 5-0, and that carries. Ms. Sheffer, congratulations as vice chair. And so that takes care of our officers for the 2025. So we would not revisit this until January of this time next year. Okay? All right. So it is, we're ready for showcase? Okay. So we are moving right along with schedule, and that will be next up is our school showcase. I'm going to place on the agenda here. Yes, and that's South Oldham Middle School, so I'd like to invite them to come forward and present. I see Ms. Whittick here, and so welcome.
Good evening.
Good
Thank you for being here.
I'm Kendra Whittick. I'm the principal at South Oldham Middle School, and I am so excited to welcome Miss Scout Downs. She is our functional academic teacher at South Middle. This is her third year teaching and leading our peer tutor program. 2 years ago, Miss Downs knew that she wanted to start up a peer buddy program. And tonight, her and a few of her students are going to share what this incredible program means to them. So I'm not going to talk anymore. They will do all the talking for me, and enjoy.
Okay, thank you, Kendra. And Kendra's gonna go through the slides, and we just have pictures of the kids to play in the background while you guys listen. Students in peer tutoring have a unique opportunity to grow friendships with their same age peers that have disabilities. When I was in high school, I was a peer tutor, and it truly changed my life and is the reason that I became a special education teacher. When I started working at South 2 years ago, I knew that I wanted to start this program back up again and give students the same incredible opportunity that I had. The impact that peer tutoring has on both our functional academic students and peer buddies is inspiring. Peer tutoring is a selective program that students must be accepted into. Students must apply to the program by writing about why they want to be in our class, and they must get at least one teacher or administrator recommendation. They also go through a mini interview process with myself. They are in our class every day for a whole class period. Students in this program help students with academic work and social skills, as well as offering genuine friendship. Our peer buddies are empathetic, kind, inclusive, compassionate, and leaders in our building. They truly see our students as no different from anyone else. Tonight, you will hear from some of our students about what it means to them to have peer buddies, as well as 2 of our buddies sharing about their experience in our program.
Hi, my name is Bailey Hood. I'm in 8th grade.
Hi, my name is Savannah Sullinger. I'm in 8th grade. This is Bailey, peer buddy.
She helps me.
Help me. My work. Hang out with me.
I
Love. Having her.
Say it loud. You got it. As a. You got it. As a peer buddy. Do you want Bailey to finish for you? Okay. Okay. Bailey's gonna finish and read it for her. Okay. Stay right here.
As a friend, I know that Bailey will always be there for me.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Newton. I am in 8th grade at South Oldham Middle School. I have a lot of peer buddies that come into my classroom and hang out with me. They are so nice to me. They are my best friends. They talk to me in the hallway, cafeteria, and help me in my arts and humanities classes. We laugh a lot together. They like me for who I am.
Do you want to say something in the microphone? Okay, say something in the microphone. Yeah. Hey, the girls are going to introduce themselves too, okay? Okay, go.
Hi, Hi, I'm Lindley Rusnak, and I'm in 8th grade peer tutor. Hi, I'm Evelyn Wolf, and I'm in 8th grade too.
Hi, I'm Delaney Smith, and I'm a 7th grader at South Oldham Middle School. This is my second year in peer tutoring. This program has impacted my life in so many different ways. When I first got invited to be a part of this program, I didn't know much about kids with disabilities and how to work with them. Now that I've been in this program for a while, I have learned that all the kids in the room are so much more capable of doing so much more than people think. Being in peer tutoring has made me just a more understanding person, and the kids always put a smile on my face. After a long Christmas break, I walked into the class, and one of the students I got in close with came up to me and was so excited to see me and gave me the biggest hug. Things like that just always make my day. Since being in the program, I have learned that how to support my peers, what perseverance looks like, how to be patient, commitment, and flexibility. I am so thankful for this opportunity to be in Miss Downs' peer tutoring program and work with her students. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Reed Matira, and I'm an 8th grader at South Oldham Middle School. This is my first year in the peer tutoring program. It has been a really great experience, and I've learned so much. Being a peer buddy has given me a new perspective on people with disabilities. I really didn't know much about them before. I see that they are really just like the rest of us. I look forward to seeing them every day in the hallways and before class. I'm not just their friend for the hour that I am in the classroom. I get to be their friend everywhere. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be a peer buddy. My only wish is that I can help the students in Ms. Downs' room as much as they've helped me.
Scout, can you come up to the microphone, please? Can you tell the board some of the activities outside of school that the peer buddies help you do?
So this is an in-school event, but this past December we went on a field trip to the movie theaters, and not only was it just like super fun for all of our kids, the peer buddies played like a huge role in just helping us, keep organized and make sure all the kids were okay and had everything they need. And then also, like, a lot of our peer buddies hang out with our kids at school dances and football games. So we really emphasize, like, you're not, like Reed said, you're not just their friend for the hour that you're in here, like, you're their friend all the time. And that's a really important part of us when we're selecting kids is, are you gonna be their friend in front of your friends? And are you gonna be their friend at fun school events like dances and football games and things like that?
And how many students do you have, Scout?
I have 7 students, and then we have 16 peer buddies this year, which is the most that we've ever had. So we have a really good program and group this year.
How many years have you been?
This is my 3rd year at South. Yeah.
We have some your other students here tonight watching.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. That was a great presentation. Thank
Yeah.
you all for
Thank
being
you.
here this evening. We appreciate your time. Next up is recognitions.
I'll do it.
Okay. Pardon me while I get myself organized. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Part of our recognitions for this evening, first I want to recognize our National Board Certified Teachers. A couple of things I would like to share. Oldham County Schools is proud to announce that 5 teachers obtained their National Board Certification and 7 renewed their certification through the Maintenance of Certification process. National Board Certification recognizes accomplished teachers who work to generate continued improvement in the learning environment. This certification is a voluntary advanced teacher credential which can take several years to complete. It is a rigorous, peer-reviewed process that ensures teachers have proven skills to advance student achievement. As part of this process, teachers must analyze their teaching context and students' needs, demonstrate what they have done outside the classroom to improve student success, submit videos of their teaching, and provide student work samples that demonstrate growth. Additionally, candidates must submit essays describing, analyzing, and reflecting on their practice and the evidence and pass an exam to demonstrate that they have mastered their chosen content area of certification. Just under 3% of the nation's teachers are nationally board certified, so quite a big deal. So I have several teachers I'd like to recognize. First, our new National Board Certified teachers. So I have a few teachers. When I call your name, please come forward. We have we'd like to recognize you, and we'll get a group photo. So I have 2 groups. The first group, the new National Board Certified teachers. Amanda Brown. Lindsay Kennedy. Elaine Dillard. Megan Rose. And Vicki Siebert. Okay, our National Board Certification, our teachers who obtain renewals. Julie Adlick. Lindsay Gilpin. Catherine Mabry. Rosalind Manning. Mandy Morris. Rachel Chardon. And last but not least, Brooke Wiseman. One more round of applause for all of those teachers. Ms. Sheffer, thank you. A couple other recognitions. Next is our school board recognition. I'd like to recognize our Board of Education. Kentucky observes School Board Recognition Month in January, and Oldham County Schools is proud to celebrate our dedicated board members, Suzanne Hundley, Carly Clem, Allison Sheffer, Adam Springer, and Joe Dennis. They spend countless hours serving the students, families, and community members of Oldham County. Please join us in thanking them for their commitment to ensuring the highest levels of learning for all of our students. Big round of applause. Okay. Next, I think I have three awards, 3 more awards. Ignite Passion Award. This is part of our branding with our strategic plan and keeping us moving forward so that way we can be able to elevate the experience of our employees and community members and really across our district. The Ignite Passion Award recognizes individuals or groups that have demonstrated exceptional commitment and efforts in fostering passion and enthusiasm within Oldham County Schools. Recipients of the Ignite Passion Award are not merely achievers. They are catalysts for positive change, transforming the atmosphere and culture within their school or within the school district. These individuals or groups possess a unique ability to ignite the flames of inspiration within the students, staff, families, and the community, encouraging others to pursue excellence and embrace their own passions. This month, we are recognizing the Ignite Passion Award winners from Centerfield, South Oldham Middle, and Buckner Alternative High School. First, Centerfield's Ignite Passion Award winner is Caitlin Sams. Yeah, Caitlin, please come on up. Caitlin exemplifies the spirit of the award through her enthusiasm, creativity, and love for learning within the school, and more specifically in the math classroom at Centerfield. Her impact reaches far beyond learning goals, inspiring students, colleagues, and families by sharing her passion of mathematics with all Wildcats. Okay, almost, sorry, I paused too long. Caitlin consistently integrates creative and hands-on approaches into her collaborative work, making learning dynamic and engaging for students. Her lessons connect real-world applications to academic content, ensuring students see the value and relevance of their learning. She even creates digital content for social media to keep math learning alive at home. An innovative strategy that she has developed to inspire excellence for students is the reward of adding their signature to her LED shoes when their math explanations wow their teacher. When leading a lesson, mentoring a new teacher, or leading professional learning at school or a state conference, her commitment and energy is unmatched, and she serves as a role model for dedication and passion. Please help me give her a big round of applause. Next is for South Oldham Middle School. South Oldham Middle School would like to recognize Suzanne Hunley for the Ignite Passion Award. Ms. Hunley has served multiple roles on SOMS's South Oldham Middle School's PTO over many years, including PTO president, where her impact on students and staff is immeasurable. Year after year, she has organized and led numerous large events that have grown to become annual traditions that are looked forward to by the entire school community. From school dances to holiday shops and drive-through Christmas inflatables, there is truly no limit to what Ms. Hunley is willing to do to bring a smile to students' faces. She's even been known to sneak into the school to hide hundreds of miniature frogs for students to find on Leap Day. Additionally, every month, Ms. Hunley collects donations and puts together blessings in a backpack to provide our families in need with meals. Her dedication to South Oldham Middle School community and her various acts of service over the years have touched the lives of so many, and there are truly no words that could adequately express the impact she has had on the hundreds of staff, students, and families that have been part of our school community. Even though this is her last year to officially be part of our PTO, Ms. Hunley's legacy will be carried on for many years to come. South Oldham Middle Schools, they would like to thank Ms. Hunley for everything she has done and continue to do so. I know personally many times when I will call Ms. Hunley, she is not able to take my call or cannot talk very long because she is at South Oldham Middle School. And so a big thank you to Ms. Hunley. Please make your way, please make your way up here. Give her a big round of applause, please. She did not know we were doing this.
No, no clue, thank you.
One more award. Buckner Alternative High School, their Ignite Passion Award winner is their team of instructional assistants. Culture, connection, and positive relationships continue to be the foundation of Buckner High School. Their mission statement, no excuses, find a way, is a challenge they live each day. Their instructional assistant staff exemplify this mission. Their level of commitment with students, families, and within Buckner High School's family go above and beyond the job they are employed to do. Whether a retired teacher, former program director, classroom aide, youth program leader, or taking classes to obtain an additional degree, each instructional assistant at Buckner High School brings a unique perspective and wealth of knowledge to their community. Each of these remarkable individuals are resourceful at adapting to adversity, daily challenges, and the needs of the school. These assistants and these top-notch employees not only support their teaching partners, but also serve as caretakers and advocates for students. They diligently work to create an environment where students feel safe and valued. This feeling of safety and value allows Buckner Alternative High School students to take the necessary risks to learn. The commitment, passion, and compassion they bring to Buckner High School is unmatched. Thanks for always finding a way. And thank each of you for what you do. Please give them a big round of applause.
Okay, next up, while everyone's exiting, we're gonna continue on. Next up is public expression, and Mrs. Clem is gonna read the public expression policy.
Yes, give me just 1
Oh,
second
sorry.
to get it all pulled up here. Each regular meeting shall include a public comment period of at least 15 minutes. Any board rules and policies regarding conduct during school board meetings shall apply during the public comment period. The chairperson may require the name and address of the speaker. The chairperson may rule on the relevance of the topic to the board's agenda. The chairperson may also establish time limits for speakers as may be required to maintain order and to ensure the expedient conduct of the board's business. The board as a whole shall have the final decision as to the appropriateness of all rulings.
Okay, there's two speakers this evening. What's your pleasure?
Good with 4 minutes?
4 minutes?
Is that good?
Okay, 4 minutes. Patrick, I'm gonna let you say your last name because I don't want to mispronounce it horribly. So please come to the podium.
Hi everyone, my name is Patrick Drabovi. I was gonna start this off by saying this was the largest board meeting that we've ever had, that I've ever been to, but they all left.
Not anymore.
So I wanted to come up here to first off thank Oldham County Schools and the Board of Education and the superintendent. This past semester, I actually unenrolled in Oldham County Schools, as much as that hurts to say. But I got to go live in Washington, D.C. in an experience called the Senate Page Program, which allowed me to go to school and work in Washington, D.C., getting relevant work experience in my own interest of public policy. I want to thank especially my school and my school counselor, Mrs. Robinson, because the second I found out I got in, I had about 2 weeks to transfer all the documents and kind of switch schools. And Mrs. Robinson made sure, and she actually came in when she wasn't supposed to be at school and helped me transfer all my documents and make sure that I was set for the experience there. So big thank you to her and to the entire Oldham County School organization for allowing me to go to that experience. It was incredible. Now, I don't mean to scare you, but I'm just going to go through our schedule. So pages, there's 30 of us around the country. Wake up at 5 a.m. Yeah. It made me very grateful for the Oldham County Schools start time of 9 a.m. And by 6 o'clock, school started. Again, very grateful for Oldham County Schools. With 25-minute classes, it was definitely a challenge to learn all the content, but today was my first day back in Oldham County Schools, and let me just say that all the teachers were incredible in the support they gave. I only had one edge period at North Oldham High School, and I managed to get caught up in all of my classes, which is incredible. It is truly incredible, and is a testament to the fact that our schools are simply incredible. Now, at the school, the classes were challenging, but I would also like to say that the education that in Oldham County Schools that prepared me for the Senate Page School experience was also very adequate, if not exceeding. I competed with similar grades and similar extracurriculars with kids from private schools in New York City, which, point blank, they receive more money than we do. And it was incredible to see just how much the schools here prepared me. And so a key couple moments during my session was a new Congress came in. And because of the swearing-ins, I got to meet the current Vice President Vance and also former Vice President Harris, which was an incredible experience. Again, thank you all for letting that happen. Then also on January 20th, while we were not allowed to attend the Rotunda inauguration, I think you have to be a billionaire to attend that. We did get to go to work that day and got to confirm the first couple members of the new president's cabinet, which is a testament of the faith in our government, and just to show the peaceful transfer of power. And that America is truly great. This was my American dream, and thank you all for supporting me in every way. I wanted to thank now Vice Chair Sheffer for writing me a letter of recommendation and supporting me through the entire application process, because it truly was life-changing. Now I'm going to talk about our favorite thing, non-voting student representatives. I first came up here to speak about, I think in May 2024, which is, it's crazy that much time has passed, because I remember it like yesterday, but I had to stop from September to now. But I would like to now reintroduce this matter for the board to take on under consideration, if they so please. Last work session, Vice Chair Sheffer and I worked together on the latest copy to accommodate for the board's requests, including to include a non-voting student representative from each high school, making sure that each high school and their experiences are properly addressed. If it is okay with everyone, I would like to send an email with a policy draft following this meeting.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I would also like to take a second and offer my condolences to Mr. Dodson's family. I knew Mr. Dodson for a while, since May 2024, and since then he always made me crack up right here. And I offer my condolences to his family. He was a great man. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, sir.
We're so proud of you, Patrick. Great job.
Next up is Steve Johnson.
Hi, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Steve Johnson, and I'm a pediatrician and child psychologist over in Prospect. And It's a small pediatric practice called Direct Pediatrics, and probably the majority of my kids, my patients, go to the Oldham County schools, and I also have 2 kids who graduated from Oldham County schools and a freshman at North. And my goal in chatting with you guys is just to really encourage some additional consideration to the idea of increased restriction of cell phone use in the middle schools and high schools, including a possible ban from the opening bell to the end, the bell at the end of the day. This idea, so over the summer I read the book The Anxious Generation. I strongly encourage everybody to read it. And it really goes through the harm that is taking place, especially to kids, preteens, and teenagers due to cell phone use. And after reading that book, I really started talking to a lot of my patients one-on-one about their experiences in the schools with their cell phones. And the take-home point from the book and just all the research that's developing out there is that cell phone use really is having a negative impact on academics, mental health, social and emotional development, as well as just safety issues at school. Academically, there are a number of schools who have banned cell phones, and on average, we find that those schools' test scores improve by about 6% after the first year, with most of those gains being shown by kids who are lower performing. The Journal of Educational Psychology 2 years ago found that students with limited phone access during school hours were better able to concentrate, resulting in improved academic outcomes. One of the striking conversations I had was with a freshman who said, yeah, the one class where I feel like I'm learning the most is my health class. I was like, of all the classes, I wonder why health? And so I asked her, how come? She said, that's the only teacher who insists that we can't have access to our cell phones. And I said, well, what happens the rest of the day? And she said, I probably am on YouTube for about 6 hours during the school day. And I said, don't the teachers notice? She said, well, a lot of them have, I don't remember the name of it, but like a little drop slot in their class that they're supposed to put it. And she said, we either just pretend like we're putting it in, or we tell the teachers that we were grounded and lost our cell phone use. And so kind of nobody ever finds out. Mental health-wise, within 7 minutes of getting on a cell phone, ratings of anxiety and depression start to increase. And if you think of kids with access to a cell phone in school, and maybe they can't get it out all the time, it's like a slot machine. You think of the dopamine rush you get from playing a slot machine. You don't win much of the time, but when you do win, it really increases your desire to play. Well, every time a kid takes out a cell phone and gets a text message, a positive like, a snap, they get that little dopamine fix. And then they have to put it away for a few minutes if the teacher is walking around the room. During that time, are they thinking about what's going on in class? Probably not. They're probably thinking about how soon can I get the cell phone out. If they don't have access to it, it's not an issue. I have kids in my practice, especially those with anxiety, who are texting their parents 20 plus times a day during the school day. I know if I text my daughter at any point, I get a response within a minute or two. Not only for the benefit of the anxious kids who really would just benefit from not having access to their parents at all times. I think that would be beneficial. The American Academy of Pediatrics discusses how excessive device use during adolescence can hinder development of interpersonal skills. As soon as schools ban cell phone use, within that year, kids and teachers will say, we'll all comment about the amazing increase in peer interaction with their classmates. Instead of everybody sitting around on their phones, they actually engage with one another. perhaps the most striking thing was cheating. At the beginning of the school year, I just talked to a bunch of freshmen from different schools, and they said, yeah, we're, like individually, and they said, yeah, we're all struggling. I was a little confused because they had been getting mostly A's and B's in middle school and weren't taking especially hard classes. And I pointed this out, and they said, well, we cheated most of the time through middle school. I said, how? I said, oh, well, everybody has their cell phones. You can exchange answers. You can take pictures of the test, give it to kids in later periods. You can text your friend across the room, and they'll text you the correct answer. You can use your Apple Watch to take pictures of the phone of tests. I was kind of stunned, and so over the last 4 or 5 months, you know, whenever a kid comes in for a checkup, middle school or high school, I'll ask them about it, and they said, oh yeah, kind of cheating is almost universal in the classes. And the research kind of supports that. It says teachers identify 54% of kids using cell phones to cheat. In terms of safety and security, the National Association of School Resource Officers say that schools with clear restricted phone policies experience fewer disruptions during emergencies as students rely more on centralized communication systems. And in the event of an emergency, you don't want 300 to 1,200 kids all calling 911 at once. A number of states have banned cell phones during the school day or are in the process of that happening, including Florida, Indiana, Ohio, and New York. Los Angeles, the second largest school district in the US in 2024, voted to ban cell phones and social media for their 420,000 K through 12 students. That should be implemented starting this spring. France, Australia, China, Italy, and the Netherlands have all banned cell phones. I really feel like this is the direction everything is going, and I'd love for Oldham County to kind of take the lead on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Natalie, are you here, Principal Brown? Did Oldham County High School really amp up their cell phone usage policy this year?
Natalie, can you come up to the
Not if
podium,
you did. I
please?
just heard that y'all had taken some bigger measures. Sorry if I put you on blast.
She's like,
Yeah, sorry. Well, people were raving about it is what I was saying. So people are saying that y'all. Well, people in North have been saying that y'all are doing it right, and so they've been raving about it, and then it's interacting with peers better. So I think it's being successful, or at least people are saying it's successful, so. Good. Okay, awesome. Thank you, sorry to put me up here.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Okay. Finally, at this time, I need a motion to go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810(1)C to discuss litigation preparation or defense, the public disclosure of which would jeopardize the board's position. KRS 61.810(1)B, deliberations on the future acquisition or sale of real property by a public agency, but only when publicity would be likely to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by a public agency, and also to consider discussion of legal services for the Board of Education, which could result in action coming out of executive session. Can I get a second for my motion? Made by Mrs. Sheffer. All those in favor? And that's 5-0.